The truth is, most couples don't fall apart. They just slowly stop doing the small things that once held them close. You're still under the same roof, still sit at the same table, still sleep in the same bed, but something's missing. And it didn't disappear with a fight. It faded, like an old photograph left too long in the sun. Not loud, not dramatic, just quieter. You still care, you still show up, but the laughter, it's less. The touch, less often. And the silence, somehow heavier. You talk about the news, the kids, the doctor's appointment, but not about each other. She asks, "Did you feed the dog?" You ask, "Do we have milk?" But when was the last time you asked, "How are we?" You didn't mean for the warmth to slip away. No one does. But it happens. Life gets busy. Feelings go unspoken. And slowly, the spark that once lived in the small daily moments, a soft touch, a gentle glance, a shared laugh, gets buried under routine. So if you've ever sat across from your wife and felt like you were miles apart, even though she's right there, this isn't about blame, it's about returning. And it begins with 5 small things, done with heart. Because love over 50 doesn't need fireworks, it just needs presence. If you've ever wondered where the warmth went, this is for you. It rarely happens in a single moment. Love doesn't fall off a cliff, it drifts. One morning you wake up and realize it's been weeks since you held her hand, months since you kissed her without a reason, years since you looked at her, not just saw her. But it didn't start with distance. It started with a full calendar, with a sore back, with another late night at work, with both of you saying, "I'm fine," even when you weren't. It's not betrayal, it's not boredom, it's not that you stopped loving each other, it's that you stopped reaching, stopped checking in, stopped doing the small daily things that used to say, "I still see you, I still choose you." You didn't mean to, neither did she. But slowly, connection got replaced with routine. You started talking about the grocery list, the grandkids' schedules, the leaky faucet, instead of how you felt, how she felt, how you were doing as us. And without realizing it, you both learned to survive the silence. You both got good at endurance, but forgot intimacy. She doesn't complain, but she feels invisible. You don't blame her, but you feel unappreciated. And neither of you says it out loud. So what happens? You move through your days like roommates, good teammates even, but the laughter gets quieter, the touch less frequent, the eye contact less charged. And the worst part, you think this is normal, that it's just how marriage is after a certain age. But that's a lie. Because love doesn't vanish, it calcifies under habit. It hardens under silence. What dies first isn't the love, it's the reaching. And the longer we stop reaching, the harder it becomes to begin again. You lie beside each other at night, backs turned, inches apart. But those inches, they hold miles of unspoken feelings, and no one says a word. Because you're not fighting, because the house is quiet, because she still makes your coffee, because you still take the trash out. And so you convince yourself that things are okay. But deep down, you miss her. And deep down, she misses being missed. You miss the inside jokes, the long talks over wine, the playful teasing, the way she used to lay her head on your chest without saying a word. You miss the warmth, Not the fire, not the sex, the warmth.
And here's the truth. Love after 50 isn't about sparks, it's about rhythm. And rhythm is built on repetition, on the little things you do over and over. Not because they're flashy, but because they say, "You still matter to me." So no, your marriage didn't fall apart, it just got quiet. But quiet doesn't have to mean cold. And it's not too late to warm things up again. You don't need fireworks, you just need to remember how to reach. Because even the smallest touch, the smallest question, the smallest look can bring back a kind of intimacy you thought was lost forever. So let's not stay in the silence. Let's begin again with 5 small habits done every day, not out of obligation, but out of intention. Habits that take no more than a few minutes, but open a door that's been closed for far too long. Let me show you how. Love doesn't vanish, it fades under dust. The dust of routine, of errands, of unspoken needs, and small moments that never happen. And the truth is, most marriages don't fall apart because of one big thing. They slowly drift because no one noticed the little things had stopped. She didn't stop loving you, you didn't stop caring. But maybe you both stopped reaching. And that's where we begin again. Not with guilt, not with pressure, but with presence. These 5 habits aren't rules, they're invitations to warm what's grown quiet, to return to the rhythm that held you close long before life got so loud. Let's start with the first one. Look at her every morning with your whole face. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But think back. When was the last time you truly looked at her? Not just saw her in passing, not just noticed her hair or her shoes, but looked into her eyes as if she were still the most familiar mystery you know. Most mornings go like this. You wake, she's already up. Coffee's on. You say, "Morning." She nods. You both move like machines. And no one did anything wrong, but the connection stayed under the blanket when you got out of bed. What if, instead, you paused for just 5 seconds? You walked into the kitchen. She's at the counter pouring coffee. You place your hand on hers gently, look into her eyes, and say, "Good morning. Did you sleep okay?" No agenda, no follow-up task, just presence. One man told me, "I used to check my phone the second I opened my eyes, but the day I left it on the nightstand and looked at her first was the day she smiled like she used to." It's not grand, it's not dramatic, but that look, that soft hello from the heart, can be the beginning of return. Next, ask one question each day that touches her heart. We've gotten good at logistics. How was your meeting? Did the meds get picked up? What's for dinner? But these aren't conversations, they're transactions. Real connection begins where the checklist ends. Try asking, "How did you feel today?" And then, listen. No advice, no fixing, just space. At first, she may shrug or say, "I'm fine." That's okay. She's testing the water. She's wondering if this is a moment or a fluke. But if you keep showing up, she'll eventually meet you there. Why does this matter? Because women over 50 are rarely asked about their inner world. They're caregivers, planners, peacekeepers. But their feelings? Often packed away in drawers labeled later. This question, asked gently, consistently, without judgment, invites her to remember she's still allowed to feel. And that is love in its rawest form.
Then comes the one many men forget and many women mourn: safe, gentle, non-sexual touch. When you were younger, you touched her all the time, not always with an end goal, sometimes just because you couldn't help it. Now, you brush past each other, you sit on the same couch, you sleep inches apart, backs turned, worlds away. You didn't mean to stop touching, it just happened, and so did the space between you. But what if, once a day, you reached for her again? Not sexually, not suggestively, just to say, I still know the shape of you. I still want you close. I still choose this skin and the soul inside it. A hand on her back while she stirs the soup. A squeeze on her shoulder as you pass her chair. A hug that lasts more than 2 seconds, that tells her, you're safe, I'm home, and I still hold you. Touch without agenda is the language of safety. It's what tells her, this is not a transaction, this is presence. And that one moment of touch, done right, can melt years of quiet. The fourth habit is quieter still, but just as vital: appreciation. Spoken daily. Not because she needs praise, but because we all need to feel seen. You've probably thought, she knows I'm grateful. She knows I love her. But does she hear it? When was the last time you said, thanks for always remembering the tiny things, or I love how peaceful you look when you read? Most men assume their silence is neutral, but in marriage, silence often feels like absence. Try saying one sentence of thanks a day. No fanfare, no flattery, just truth. Because long-term marriages don't starve from lack of effort. They starve from lack of acknowledgement. And when she hears you speak what you feel, her shoulders soften, her spirit rests. She begins to believe you still see the woman inside the role. And finally, the anchor that holds it all together: one quiet moment shared each day. Not a date, not a trip, not something that needs planning. Just 5 to 10 minutes, with no distractions. Sit outside with your coffee, fold laundry side by side, watch the sun fade through the window. No phones, no goals, no performance. Just presence. Because what you do matters less than the fact you're doing it together. One couple told me they started walking the dog together at dusk. 15 minutes, no big talks, sometimes not even words, but that became their sacred time, their soft place to land. And slowly, they began leaning in again, not because anything was fixed, but because something was felt. And sometimes, that's all it takes. But let's pause here. Maybe you're thinking, would she even notice if I did these things? What if I've waited too long? What if she doesn't reach back? Here's what I'll tell you, gently. She may not show it at first. She may stay guarded, tired, quiet, but underneath, if she's still in that house, still sitting across that table, still asking if you want tea, she hasn't given up. She's waiting to feel safe again, to trust the warmth isn't temporary, that your reach isn't followed by retreat. And that is where these habits matter most. They're not tests, they're not tricks, they're acts of remembering. And when done with heart, consistency, and no pressure, they become the very rhythm that holds you both steady when everything else feels like it's slipping. One eye contact, one honest question, one safe touch, one quiet thank you, one shared moment. Done daily, they rebuild not just your marriage, but your presence inside it. Because in the end, it's not about trying harder. It's about showing up softer, more often, with fewer words and more heart. And that's how love after 50 not only survives, it begins again. Let's be honest. Starting is one thing, but keeping it going, when life gets busy, moods shift, aches settle in, that's where most men give up. Not because they don't care, but because they think love should be natural, not practiced. But here's the quiet truth. What's natural becomes invisible if we stop doing it.
Just like your body forgets strength when you stop moving, your marriage forgets closeness when you stop reaching. So how do you make these habits stick without turning love into a checklist? You start small. One habit, not 5. Maybe just that one moment in the morning where you look her in the eye and say, "Morning, I'm glad we're here." You let it live there for a week, maybe 2. And when that becomes second nature, you add another, gently, like placing a log on a fire that's already lit. You don't have to explain it. You just let her feel it. Over time, she'll respond, not with words, but with softer eyes, quieter laughter, warmer space. And here's one trick many couples use: a shared signal. Not a reminder that feels like nagging, but something sweet. A word, a magnet on the fridge, a little post-it on the bathroom mirror that says, "Still reaching." Something that says, "I see you. I still want this." Because love after 50 isn't about performance. It's not about grand gestures, sweeping plans, or trying to impress her again. It's about remembering how you used to show it and choosing, daily, to do it again. You don't have to be perfect. She doesn't either. You just have to show up on the slow days, on the tired days, on the days when everything feels ordinary. Because the truth is, real love isn't loud. It's consistent. And when she sees that quiet rhythm return, not once, but again and again, she'll lean back in. Not because you demanded it, but because you made it safe. And that's how warmth returns. Not with sparks, but with steady hands, still reaching. Let's take a breath, because what we've talked about today isn't just about habits. It's about remembrance, about returning to the small moments you once shared so easily before time, pain, or silence made them feel out of reach. I want to leave you with something simple, something you can carry in your back pocket, quietly, not to perform, but to live. You don't need to win her back with roses. You don't need candlelit dinners or surprise getaways. You don't need poetry, perfect words, or big plans. You just need to show her she still matters without saying a word. That might mean stopping in the hallway just to place your hand gently on her arm. It might mean turning off the news, looking at her across the dinner table, and asking not what she did today, but how she felt while doing it. It might mean pulling her close, not because you want something, but because you remember how it once felt to hold her for no reason at all. These 5 minutes, they won't change the world, but they might change her day. And, over time, day after day, those moments begin to stitch something back together, something sacred, something shared. You don't need to rebuild the whole bridge at once. You just need to take one step toward her and trust that she may take one back. Will it be easy every day? No. You'll get busy. You'll forget. Some days you won't feel like it, and some days maybe she won't respond at all. But real love isn't built in the days you feel like it. It's built in the days you choose it anyway. That's the kind of strength you have now. Not the fire of your 20s,
but the quiet warmth of a steady flame that refuses to go out. Because love after 50 is not a chase. It's not a performance. It's not a prize to be won. It's a garden, and it only grows if you tend to it with care, with rhythm, and with presence. So here's what I ask of you, not as a task, not as a challenge, but as a quiet vow. If this spoke to you, if even one part made you remember something, comment below, "I'll start today." Let that be your line in the sand, your soft return, not to the man you used to be, but to the man you're still becoming. One habit, one glance, one touch at a time. And if you're ready to go deeper, to truly protect and revive what matters most, don't miss tomorrow's video, because we're talking about the #1 silent killer in marriages over 50. And it's not infidelity. It's not distance. It's not even sex. It's something far more quiet and far more dangerous. And I'm going to show you how to recognize it and stop it before it wins. Because the truth is, it's never too late to begin again.